is take 2.
We're going to tell the Harvey story.
We're going to start over.
Okay.
So we forgot to go live on YouTube. So here we are again. This is take 2 of Facebook Live.
The camera angle looks better.
Yes, the camera angle's better. Tonight we are talking about flying changes because this Sunday is the flying changes webinar. We're also talking about our horse show last weekend because we were at the championships. We're also going to answer some questions. And what else are we going to talk about?
Me getting sick at the horse show because now I have to sneeze.
Yes, Herman is recovering from his horse show illness. And he was not on Facebook Live last Thursday. Where were you?
I was at the Smokehouse restaurant in Burbank.
And do you remember what happened while you were at the restaurant? There was like this alert.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there was my first experience with that. There's 200 people in this restaurant and everybody's phone goes off. Now, nobody blinks, right? You just whatever. But it was a senior alert. Somebody had gotten lost that they'd actually already found. So the alarm went off for absolutely no reason because that person had already been found before they sent the alarm, yet there was a senior alert anyway.
Yes.
And the restaurant.
Very annoying.
It was, that was my first experience. It was terrible. They could never do that again. I'd be all right.
Okay. So anyways, he survived the night out. We missed him on Facebook Live. But yes. The horse show was fun. So we took, the horse show was in Burbank. It was the regional championships. We took.
And 1 year it's in the north and 1 year it's in the south.
In California. This year it was nice and close for us. And the weather was great. It is so hot here now. Like it's
100 plus.
Yeah.
In Burbank this weekend.
So we were so lucky with the weather.
Yeah.
And we took Harvey, Kensington, Herman rode Incognita 3rd level. And one of our students went.
And did the 2nd level.
And Molly's here. Hi, Molly. We stabled with Molly, which was very fun.
Nice. Yes.
So overall, it was a good horse show. I think it's always like going to horse shows always takes you out of your comfort zone for sure. And especially at the LA Equestrian Center, it is busy there. And the warm-ups are tiny and there's like a lot going on. Wouldn't you agree? It's like a hard place to show.
I don't like the traffic that goes by the warm-up arena. At least they got rid of those speed bumps.
Yeah.
So that way the trailers don't go bounce over the speed bumps. They remove the speed bumps. That got a little bit, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it used to be like there was the warm-up and then there was this berm of like bushes. And then there was the road where the trailers would pull in and there were these horrible speed bumps.
All the traffic went over those speed bumps so that you could really scare the horses nicely before they went into the arena.
And then Harvey was in the Equidome, which is like the indoor arena. And the warm up for that arena is literally a triangle. Like it's like this weird shaped triangle right along the path where all the trail horses go. And when you're warming up for the Grand Prix, you need to like be able to like orient yourself to something for your lines of tempi changes or your half pass zigzags. And so I was like struggling to number 1, get Harvey focused, and number 2, like orient myself to get ready for the movements.
And then you have the trail riding horses that are Yahoo buckaroo down the trail riding road that's on the other side of the fence. So the horses can hear them, but not see them.
Yes. So it was exciting, but I think that it's always so fun to go to horse shows because for me, my favorite part of it is spending lots of quality time with my horses. And we rented a little Airbnb that was like
across the street. It was a 5-minute walk.
It was like walking distance, which was so nice because then you could go home and then come back and check the horses at night. And it just made it super convenient and super easy.
And that's our holiday, right? When we go away to shows, that counts as vacation, doesn't it?
Right. We had a vacation last week. That's as good as it gets.
It's as good as it gets.
So it was a good time. And I think that Harvey was definitely like the craziest thing because earlier this year, Harvey had 2 surgeries. I'm actually going to post a YouTube video on Saturday about like telling the whole story about what happened to Harvey. So if you want to watch that, it will come out on Saturday. But basically earlier this year, Harvey had to have 2 surgeries and he had like a month in the hospital and he was really sick and he had an infection.
The staph infection, the antibiotics on just intravenous antibiotics daily.
Every single day. And like this gaping hole in his head with like pus dripping out of it. And I was like that close to putting him down because it was horrible.
Horrible.
It was awful.
And then there was another procedure after the 2 surgeries. There was another procedure to get the thing to close up.
Yeah.
And at that point, the doctor's like, well, we'll stop with the antibiotics
and pray.
And we'll see if it comes out okay, because you can't live on antibiotics.
Right.
So we'll stop the antibiotics, do the other surgery, and let's hope it turns out okay. That was a long couple of weeks.
And the miracle of it all is that it did. And Harvey won all of his Grand Prix classes. And he is a freak, that horse, what he can do. I mean, the Piaffe Passage that he can do is like, I've never ridden a horse like that. I've never ridden a horse that you do the Grand Prix and it doesn't even feel hard. Like it's amazing.
He's got that body.
Yeah. And he's also incredibly sensitive and hot and like difficult, like in the warm up, he was very spooky, kind of unrideable, but that's also, you have to have that to do the Grand Prix. They have to be on edge like that in order to have the energy to get through the test. So it was definitely an emotional thing to overcome that and to be there with Harvey. And there was one point in my test, when you start like getting emotional about like this is happening, and I was like, okay, no, you have to keep riding.
Bad timing.
Yeah,
move
on. So it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to see everyone and fun to spend time with the horses.
It is. And I was just kidding about that's our vacation, but it is. It's a time nice. Away from our regular routine, and we're just with each other and the horses, and that's really nice.
Yeah. So.
Because while we could, we helped each other. She warmed me up for my classes. I warmed her up for her classes, and that's just a joy and a privilege there. So.
Yeah. So I thought it would be fun. Does anyone want to hear the comments from my test? Because I thought it might, let me know in the chat if you want to hear the comments from my test. But I thought that it might be fun to kind of read through one of my tests and help understand, like, it's always important to read through your test. And then you need to pick out like what you can improve, what you can make better. And then maybe like what's just like, okay, that was that day. That's what happened that day. And I know you're going to love this because
we've got some yeses. So that's good. Okay. They did answer because I didn't know, like, if they say no, what are you going to read it anyway?
Well, no, then we
just move on. Okay. But there's some yeses. So continue.
So one thing is when you're at the championship show, there's 2 judges. So there's a judge at the front and there's also a judge at the side. So this judge for my 8-incher collected canter X halt says past X. Uh-oh.
That's a big bozo no.
So I need to work on practicing at X and halting at X and not past X, which is like, how do you do that? You use your peripheral vision?
I do. I go with really soft eyes instead of stare. Well, I stare at the judge in front of me as I'm going down the center line, right? I'm staring at the judge. As I'm getting closer to the X, I open my vision more. I just think about like a very narrow vision and then a big V as I'm coming towards the X.
You can't really like turn your head to
right.
the side.
So as I'm coming towards the X, I vision my eyes opening. And so then I see the judge on my side and I know where that judge is. And then I halt.
I'll have to try that.
Maybe
I'll be able to. Some people count strides.
Yes.
Like when they enter and then they know how many strides it is to get to X.
Yeah.
But it's just like a lot of these things, like these little accuracy things, but it's the difference of a half a point. And then
they add
in
up.
The end, that adds. So anyways, okay. So track right. Oh, this is Kensington's test. So this is a pre-St. George. So track right, medium trot. And then they say power fades after X. So it's like details, right?
Right, and that's a common thing that happens. We all come out of the corner and say, I'm going to ride this. And you get to X and you go, oh boy, I'm tired. Not only, okay, I've got to, and then you're not in the moment. You're not thinking about it to the end. You're already at the end, riding your corner in the next movement while you're still in the middle of that movement.
All right. Now, shoulder in, more cadence. Okay, yeah, he needs to get a little stronger behind. Now, this is like what killed me in the test. 8-meter volte, large on the second half. There goes another half a point. I made my circles too big.
They were big. I was on the side. I was watching you from right behind, and I was like, wow, that is a big circle. You were like almost to the center line.
So the moral of the story is ride accurately. Like, I think that's, it's like you go to a show and it's just all these little things so far. It's just like accuracy, right? Okay, the extended trot could be bolder. Yeah, okay. Shoulder and right, more cadence. And so like more cadence when I get that comment with Kensington. So Kensington is 9 this year. He did the pre-St. George and the I-1. Developing cadence is something that it takes time because he needs to get stronger for it. And he needs to get like a better understanding to be able to carry the cadence through a movement, like through the shoulder in and the 8-meter circle and the half pass. I can get a lot of cadence at home when I'm just like working on a straight line. But then when I go into a test, I lose it a little bit. So that's kind of a comment that it's like, yeah, I agree with, but maybe I can't fix it today. It's something that I'd like to fix in the next 6 months. But these accuracy things,
you could fix that right now.
I can fix that right now. I should probably look up more.
So to answer Lynn's question, which is that a handwritten paper test? Yes, it is. In Australia, apparently they're using tablets to scribe, and the results are posted online instantly.
We have some shows that do that.
Some shows that do that, but this also gets posted as soon as it's. And now, do they? No, but they don't transcribe it from that. Don't they do it from the computer as well, or do they transcribe it and then put it on?
So they write like their scores in the comments here, and then when they score it, they put it into the computer. So like this,
that goes to the online right away.
Yeah.
So it depends on the show.
Okay, so more comments about Kensington. The walk needs more over track. That's always something I think, don't forget to practice your walk because your walk is expensive in the test, right? And often when we're riding, we just like go to the walk and then just let the reins out and we like forget that we should still focus on the quality of our horse's walk. And even if you don't show, the walk is important for your horse's soundness and your horse's overall health and your horse's fitness. So you should practice your walk. Let's see, what other comments do we have here? My canter pirouettes, take more weight, a little large.
And those kind of go hand in hand. To get them smaller, they have to take more weight. And that's another strength issue. That's a training thing. That's not just, I should ride that better.
So the overall comments: athletic uphill horse, quality work, take more risk, be bolder and more elastic, watch accuracy on 8-meter trot circles to improve the presentation. So I think it's like the accuracy is something that I should kick my butt about and make sure that I ride more accurately. The be bolder is always a balance of like, yes, if I was bolder, I could maybe get higher scores, but then you also risk having a mistake. So for example, in your extended trot, if you like go for broke and your horse accidentally breaks to canter, or even if they have one little hiccup in the rhythm.
Right. They lose their balance a little bit because it's so big and they couldn't maintain it. And then they trip.
And then you're at a 4. So you have to kind of balance where you can get points and where you can take a little bit more, like where you could earn points easily versus where your horse just needs time to develop the strength and the balance and all of those things. Okay, let's see Harvey's test. Oh no. This is gonna kill me. I have to admit all my shortcomings to everyone. Guess what we did on our first halt?
The same as you did on the other halt, because that's how you halt.
I went past X. He got an 8 on his extended trot though, and it said the transition is quite clear. Here's another accuracy thing. So in the Grand Prix, you have to half pass all the way across. So like from K to B, half pass right. And I arrived early. Bad. But I kind of did that because that's what we practiced the day before, was
Right,
getting there a
because he
little
needs
early.
more time to make that transition from the bend from one side to the other. And so, okay, great, you got there early, but they don't know what happens when you don't get there early. If you get there on time, then you start the next one really late with a bad bend.
Yeah.
So they don't know that, but you know that. So you get there early so you can get them set up for the second half pass.
The rest of the comments are like more reach, short neck, be more consistent, fairly clear, neck short. So, you know, all this stuff is like little things that I can work on. Let's see what else. Show more reach, little large for my pirouettes, slow to settle. Oh, quality work on the last center line. Overall Harvey's last center line. He finally got this. So let me tell you a little story. When I first started doing the Grand Prix with Harvey, it's really hard because their whole life they halt at X.
Right, and now we're not.
And then you go to the Grand Prix and you have to pee off at X, which is like, I don't know, why did they do that? Like, why did they design it?
Because it's difficult.
Yes. So the first season that I was showing Harvey the developing Grand Prix, he would not pee off at X. Like, he would just halt. And it was terrible. I was so frustrated. I was so embarrassed. Every center line, I'd go down and I would want to pee off. And he would halt. And then when I would try to get him to go, he would canter out. Like, I couldn't even get him to trot the rest of the way down the center line. And he would just like clamp in his back and in his body and
he'd tuck his tail in.
It was terrible. So I'm so proud that I finally got 8s and 7.5s on my last center line with Harvey.
Because he kept going all the way to the end.
It was very exciting given that it was like 2 years of failing at it. But I think that's important to remember, is that, you know, it takes a long time. And it's
not an event. It's a process.
Yeah. And Harvey, let's see, I've had him since he was 5 and he's 12 now. So I've had him for 7 years. 7 years of work to get here. But it's always fun. I think it's important to enjoy the journey and enjoy the process. So that's enough about the horse show. I hope you all enjoyed listening to the fact that I still don't look up or ride accurately. And perhaps I will start now that I've publicly embarrassed myself.
Yes, now that you've acknowledged it in a public setting, then
you can all hold me accountable and ask me if I'm looking up and riding more accurately. So our second topic of tonight is about flying changes, because Herman was the star of this week's YouTube video. If you haven't watched it, please go to YouTube and watch the video. What happened in this week's YouTube video?
What video did we post?
About flying changes.
With Tico, and who was riding?
Orion.
Oh, that was a while ago, right? When we videoed that?
Yes. So who's Tico and who's Orion? Please explain.
So Tico is Kathy's horse, and he is trained to the I-1.
Super horse.
Yeah.
So he knows his changes.
He knows his changes, and he was helping Orion, who is 19, and she's got a second level 8-year-old that she bought when he was 6, and he was quite difficult. And he's still quite difficult, actually. He just looks really a lot better. So we were teaching her how to do the flying changes, because she's got to get a feel for that, because she's got to now do them on her second level horse to make him a third level horse.
Yes. So this Sunday is the Flying Changes webinar. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, please RSVP, because it's going to be epic. I'm going to share all my secrets for teaching the flying changes. What are your secrets?
I don't have any secrets. There's no secrets.
What is your technique for teaching the flying changes?
Well, the one that I like a lot is the flat serpentine one, right?
That's what you did, I think, in the video with Orion.
Yeah.
The shallow loop serpentine is what I call it.
Shallow loop, right. I like that one a lot.
Why do you like that one?
Because it really schools the walk canter. It gets them short, quicker sitting, keeping that weight back. And then when you do the change on the second, when you come around to the quarter line the second time, there's the wall right there. So, and the turn, so they don't really flop down on the forehand and run.
Yeah. But I think that's something that's really important. And I've been working really hard on my webinar slides for like, it always takes me like more than 40 hours to put together a webinar. So please come on Sunday because it's going to be good. But one thing that I was thinking about is that too often it's like when it comes time to teach the changes, it's just kind of like gallop across the diagonal and pray it happens. And then if it doesn't happen, put more pressure on your horse, add more force to your horse. And then horses get totally freaked out about the changes because instead of going through like the steps and teaching them like, okay, here's the aid. Okay, here's the setup. Okay, here's the preparation. It's just like go across the diagonal, go for broke, and then
knock them off balance and turn fast. Turn fast, knock them off balance, and they'll get the other lead.
Yeah. And that's really not a good way to teach the flying changes. And the truth of the matter is that flying changes are a natural movement. Like when you turn your horse out in the field and they're galloping around and they change direction, they do a flying change. So it's not something, it's not like,
it's not a circus trick. It's something they would do in the wild. They come to a cliff, they're going to turn onto the other lead and off they go.
But the key is getting it
when you ask for it
on your aids. Yeah. So let me know if you're watching here, if you ride the flying changes, what happens when you ask for a flying change? Like what problem are you having in your flying changes? Because I want to make sure that I address everyone's problems.
And that's where it gets trickier, right? You can do that pattern, but what happens if the horse doesn't bend around that right leg? Okay, so now how do you set that up?
Or what if they change late behind? I think that's one of the most common things.
Oh, yeah.
Late behind or anticipating or exploding. Because that's it, right? Like you're so afraid to ask for the flying change because you're just like, what's going to happen when I ask for the flying change? Remember when you were teaching Q the flying changes?
Yeah, but he had some history. He had some history. The technique they used for him was not the prescribed method. He had some.
What did they do to him?
Well, the story was that when he would go across the center line, they had a lunge whip and they'd hit him with the lunge whip to get the change done. And
that's helpful.
And I remember taking a lesson and we were doing the half pass, which, you know, the leg position is a lot like the flying change. And the horse galloped out of the arena at 90 miles an hour with me hanging on. And I just remember the clinician yelling, "Oh, we've tapped into some history there," as the horse ran out of the arena with me.
So that is not how I'm going to show you to do flying changes. I do not recommend getting a lunge whip out because obviously his horse didn't understand what they wanted, right?
But they did a fine job of scaring him, and he was really big and he was really athletic. And so when he was scared and just running, that we just did that. We just ran because he could. Why do you let your horse do that? Because he can? Like, what are you going to do?
Okay, so there are some questions. Someone said excellent video on flying changes. Good job, Herman. What age do you start experimenting or teaching a young horse flying changes? So that's a good question. I feel like every horse is different when it comes time to teach the changes.
Yeah, so I don't know at what age really. It's more a feel about the balance and the accessibility to the hind leg and the bend.
And the confidence of the horse.
Yeah.
I think has a lot to do with it. And then, you know, like I've had young horses. But
certainly you want to do it younger, right? I mean, if the horse has come 10 years old and you haven't taught it to change yet, it's probably.
Yeah.
That ship probably sailed.
But some horses is like more natural than others. Yes. Like I've had horses that like at like 5 or 6 that you can just kind of canter across and they do it on their own. And other ones just require a lot more setup, like a lot more collection and engagement.
Right. So that you can really help them right hand blue, left hand yellow, because they can't sort of coordinate their limbs.
Yeah. So let's see. Cynthia, are there any new materials or clips? So yes, I do have a course on flying changes. And yes, we have updated stuff. So the updates will be live this weekend. Let's see, we added a Flying Changes cheat sheet that has like a bunch of different patterns, and they're all like laid out for you visually. So you can learn them that way. Because I think when you're teaching the Flying Changes, I remember my trainer, Sue, explaining to me the aids, and she was talking about like the new inside leg and the old outside leg and the new inside ray and the old outside leg. And I just remember her like standing telling me all this stuff, and it was just like
the adults and peanuts. Wah, 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 wah,
yeah.
wah.
Because there's a lot that has to happen in the moment.
All at the same time. And that's the thing about the changes that I find so difficult. Everything has to be set up and correct right now.
Yeah.
It's not like you're in your shoulder in and you say, hey, I need more trot. Oh, I need more angle. And you can make that adjustment. Everything has to be right now. Is it right? Let's do the change. Oh, it's still late. What the hell happened? Now go back and figure it out. Oh.
Yes. And there's always a learning curve. Like it's never perfect. I feel like every horse struggles with it, and they do a lot of bad or incorrect changes. And that's just part of it. That's part of what it takes to get to the point where they're confirmed with the changes, where they're doing the FEI, where they're like Harvey, where there's over 30 flying changes in the Grand Prix, and that takes time and practice. So other things I've added to the course, let's see, I recorded some ride along podcasts for Flying Changes, which is exciting. And I added a few new exercises into the course because I feel like every trainer I work with has like a different pattern that they like for the Flying Changes.
That I discovered too.
So I have like a whole collection of different patterns and different exercises. And you need to have that, because what happens is your horse starts anticipating one pattern, and then you need to like change it up and try a different pattern to set your horse up better.
I had a coach once tell me, well, you learn from everybody and then you go ahead and do it your way.
Or I think every horse is different too, right?
Yes.
Because like what works for one horse doesn't work for another horse. And that's like training overall. And so you're always trying to adapt and figure out
the best way for the horse to understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
You got to present it to the horse in a way they get it. Doesn't matter what you think.
But that's what makes it really
awesome.
Fun and interesting.
That's the best thing about it.
Is that they're all different, and you're always trying
making that relationship based on that. And the horse is like, all right, well. Yeah. And back to the safety, like my horse Q, who did not feel safe. So, when he thought that was coming again, he had these huge reactions. And, once you make your horses safe, they're like, all right, I'll try for you.
Yeah. And once you explain it to them in a way they can understand, I think that's important to remember.
And let them, and now that I'm getting on my soapbox, right? Let them make a mistake. It's not so bad.
Okay. Just set it up again. Try something different.
Yeah.
All right. What are we having for dinner?
Fish. Oh, and so someone pointed out to me at a horse show that you can't keep telling people I go fishing.
Why?
Because I go spear fishing. I go in the water with the fish.
He goes diving.
I go spear fishing. I don't know how to fish. I don't drink enough beer to make fishing fun.
Okay.
So I put on my wetsuit and I take my spear gun and I get in the water with the fish.
And we have halibut.
It's
very exciting. So that is what we're having for dinner. I hope you all are having something yummy for dinner. Please come to the webinar on Sunday. Please invite your friends if you have any riding friends that you think would enjoy learning about Flying Changes, because it's super interesting topic. And I think that it's where a lot of horses and riders get stuck.
It's a big leap, right? There's some big leaps, right? The second level is a huge leap from first level. A flying change is a big leap after that. The Pre-St. George is another big leap.
Yes.
So yeah, the flying changes. Now we're getting into the big leagues.
All right.